Welcome to another episode of Radioactive Recovery, where we drop the bomb on recovery and hope you catch the fallout. I'm sitting here with my man today. I'll let him introduce himself, but we're gonna have a very, very interesting episode for you. Uh, I know this guy through coming into the halls. He is what I would call one of my predecessors. He's someone I look up to and I try to mold myself after in my recovery. But I'll let him go ahead and let you know who he is.
Hey, I'm Ramon, person in long-term recovery.
Hmm. Hey, well said, well said. So yeah, Ramon. Where are you from, if you don't mind?
I was born in Puerto Rico, but grew up in part of my life in New York City, and then I moved to Massachusetts in 1978.
Ooh, 1978. That was a real party scene back then, huh? That was when they really partied, got it on, huh?
Sure.
All right, all right. So how long have you been actively trying to secure some this long-term recovery of yours?
Actually, my journey started in 1997, and I was able to put 12 and a half years, and then I got complacent and stopped going to meetings and started resting on my laurels. And it was just a matter of time before life got a little unmanageable. And I did what a good person, usually does when they don't know they have a problem. I relapsed after 12 and a half years, but I'm back and have no intentions of going back. If anything, I look forward to moving forward.
Well said, well said. Thank you, Ramon. Thank you, Ramon. Well, I know that you said you had gotten complacent, right? So, like on this podcast, we touch topics focused around the newcomer. This is also geared towards also those with long-term sobriety or long-term recovery rather, because you never know, right, who needs to hear the message when, right? And you know how everything is so internet-based, everything is on the go, right? So we wanted to have a safe space where somebody could just pop in the headphones, because a lot of the times when we first get into recovery, we're still in or around the area that we might have frequented when we used. So, as far as um, what's the question I wanted to ask? As far as early recovery, what helped you stay focused?
Well, what helped me was, when I finally realized that, that every time I was in situations or circumstances that did not want to be in, there was always drugs or alcohol involved. And, like I had a problem for a very long time, but I was the last one to know that I had a problem.
Mm.
The Hamden County knew I had a problem. Everybody knew I had a problem. Everybody but me. I was the last one to know until one day the light bulb went on in my head, and I realized after, doing some how do you say some when you look back,
Hindsight.
yeah, in hindsight, when I look back through my drinking and partying career, how at one time something that I used to have so much fun with became to be my worst enemy. And it wasn't until I was able to put one and one together and realize that I had a problem. And, I remember many times trying it my way. I tried the geographical cures. My problem was all my life. I went around blaming people, places, things, situations, and circumstances when things didn't go my way. And, I did what a good addict does. I didn't know how to cope with these emotions and feelings. And so I numbed them, and like I said, I didn't know I had a problem till it was a problem. And I just got sick and tired of trying it my way and always falling short. And the last time I was incarcerated, was in 1997, and remember being on house arrest, and they wanted me not to go out of the house for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I knew they were setting me up for failure. So I asked the counselor if I could at least start going to 12-step meetings. And, I had surrendered, and when I started going to meetings, I started hearing things that made a lot of sense. And I stayed around, I took suggestions, I did what I heard, and I was able to put 12 and a half years together.
Nice.
And my life got really, really good.
All right. Thank you for that. So, how important were meetings in that first 12 years that you were able to string together working in the active program?
Well, they're very important due to the fact that, when I was in active addiction, like my disease would tell me things like, oh, if you had my problem, you would drink and drug too. Like I said, it was always everybody else's fault. It was never my fault. I was never able to take responsibility for anything until, I came into the halls and I started doing what was suggested, which was the 12 steps. And, the first step was admitted that I was powerless over drugs and my life had become unmanageable. And being that I had surrendered and I asked something greater than myself for help, um, like I became honest, I became open minded, I became willing. What I realized is that I had a very closed mind.
Mm,
And it wasn't until I surrendered and I started getting some clarity and I started learning about my disease that I learned that I could live happy, joyous, and free one day at a time without having to put any mood, mind altering substances into my body.
okay. Cool, cool, cool. So like, I heard you talk about surrender, and before I go into my next question, I don't want to assume. So your pathway to recovery is the 12-step program known as Narcotics Anonymous, correct?
Yes, but I also do all recovery meetings. Like I said, it's about being open minded.
Hmm.
What recovery has done for me is that it has opened up my mind. I don't have all the answers, and there are many pathways to recovery. You just, I feel that you just have to find your niche
Hmm.
and, work with what helps you. Like I said, I keep an open mind, so I take this very serious. It's a matter of life and death.
Absolutely.
Today, I don't want to die. I want to live. Even though I remember times where I didn't want to live, today I don't want to die. So,
Well stated, Ramon. Well stated. So I heard you touch base on surrender, and I know that me personally, when I came in, so like I'm a guy who also uses over emotions, and I've always tried to do this without well, do it my way, right? And coming from Boston, I had a really big problem with surrender. Now, being someone with a solid foundation in recovery, can you please, enlighten me and enlighten our listeners to how you can take the word surrender and use it in a positive light?
surrender, people may look at it as a sign of weakness. All my life, I was fighting things beyond my control, always wanting to be the director of, my life and everything that happened. And, that wasn't reality, because, I am not the great I am. And, until I could learn to accept life on its own terms and find a support system. And, like I said, I came to the conclusion that, drugs and alcohol are no longer my friend. They're
Mm,
my enemy, you
mm,
know.
mm.
So,
So yeah, yeah. So again, like I said, and thank you for elaborating on that, Ramon, because I think a lot of the times that I had come in to recovery, that was my problem, was the surrender part, because I always had these now that I know what they're called reservations. I had these reservations that I would get even with my drug, right? Because it brought me to my knees this time, but I'm gonna show it this next time around, right? Because like I hadn't really come to the realization that, addiction is a heavyweight champion, bro. It's undefeated for those that are fighting it the way that it wants you to fight it, right? But, you know, there's still fight in the word surrender, right? Because like I fight by choosing to live, right? By watching people like you, and those that come before us. I follow the recovery path of Narcotics Anonymous. But like you said, I am open minded to all pathways because I can always learn something. So thank you again for elaborating on the surrender part. Um, how important is it? How important is sponsorship?
Sponsorship is very important, especially if you grew up the way I grew up, that at a certain age, around, I'm gonna say probably 10 or 11, like I stopped asking my parents permission to do anything. Like uh, I had a dad, but I didn't have a dad, and what I mean by that is he was there physically, but emotionally and mentally he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So it's like I had to learn things the hard way, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. When I was growing up, I'm old school, so I believe in respecting your elders. Even though I didn't listen when I was a kid, today as I'm older, I wish I would have listened, because I could have saved myself a lot of pain, misery, suffering, and I took a lot of hostages.
Mm.
I ruined a lot of lives, and I'm not proud of that. But the beautiful thing about it is that if you stay in this process, all that hurt and damage that I've caused, I've been able to repair a lot of that damage. And I still have to pay consequences for my past actions. Like I used to be a very healthy, athletic kid growing up, and today I have all these health issues because of my use and abuse of mood mind altering substances.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, thank you for elaborating on that. I myself have also like really run my body ragged. Um, so it leads me to my next question is how important would you say that when you come into recovery, right? Once you're past the detox stage and you're in your first 90 days, how important is it, right, for you to also try to rein in your eating habits, like to get a healthy regimen going on? Um, for me, it helped with habit, right? Like I had to break these old habits, right? Because I've lived animalistically. They're not showering, they're not brushing my teeth, like all of that is causing me problems now, bad breath, broken teeth. But I start to realize that the more that I watch what I put in my body, right? Like I start to feel better, mentally, spiritually, and physically as well, right? And I know that our program is a threefold disease that we suffer from, right? So like how important is healthy eating habits for you?
I would say it's very important. But then again, right? Like my dad is 92 years old, right? And this man, never, you know, was into eating healthy, but
Hmm.
yet still he is, still
Yeah.
here he is at
Hmm.
92 years old. And
Word up.
honestly, it seems like he's in better shape than me at 92 years old.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, what's funny is you say that, right? And again, Ramon is a good friend of mine, but I grew up around a lot of Latinos, and you know, eating eating regular for you guys is very healthy when you compare it to the standard American diet, right? The yuca, the
Yeah.
the platanos and all of that good stuff. So like Yeah, I guess, yeah. Eating healthy is like that's just regular. That's a regular thing for you, right?
Yeah,
Growing.
yeah. I listen. Every human being has to eat in order to live. You
Right,
know,
right.
I don't have any special diets. I do eat vegetables. But I'm not choosy when it comes to eating food. Like we have this thing. It's called halt. And when I'm not in good spirits or good mood, it's either because I'm hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And
Mm.
as long as I take care of, all those things, I'm pretty content where I am in life. But like I said, I'm not into yogurt and I'm not into, eating all these fruits and vegetables. But here I am. I'm 59 years old. I don't weigh more than 160 pounds, and I
You're
feel
doing good.
great.
So you're doing good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're doing good for yourself. I mean, me personally, I had to change up my eating habits only because like I would gorge out on things that are really bad for me. I wasn't eating a lot of home cooked meals. And culturally, like shout out to my best friend. My best friend growing up was Puerto Rican, and the difference in what we ate in my household versus what I ate when I was at his house. Like 5 days a week, I was trying to go to his house to eat, right? Because like they had like the bacalao and always rice and beans, and I was like, oh word, versus like throwing something in the microwave at my crib or eating canned spaghetti and meatballs. So like now today I'm conscious about what I eat. So that's where it helps me, but that's also something positive for me to focus on and one less negative thing for me to, obsess about. And now that I say that, right, it leads me to the next question. How long, right? Uh, how long was it before the obsession was lifted? And two, how did you get the obsession to be lifted?
Surrender, man. Surrender to win. Realizing that I have a disease, and one of the most profound things I heard an old guy at a meeting say was, "I leave booze and drugs alone. They leave me alone." I was like, wow, like what a concept.
Mhm.
But it's true, you know. If I don't pick it up, I can't get high. If I ever did, I know that it sets off an obsession, a compulsion. Nothing else matters. My mind goes, into where can I get my next one? How about this? If I take a drink, the next thing on my mind, it's like I'll be having a conversation with the bottle. I'll be like, especially if I'm in a gathering and people don't drink the way that I drink or don't have my problem,
Mm,
it's like all I keep is obsessing about when are we having the next drink.
mm,
It's no longer a social gathering for me. It's about the next one.
right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, 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 that makes absolute sense. I get it, right? And that goes into that phenomenon of craving, right? Like this allergic reaction that we have. And for a long time, I felt like that wasn't me, right? Until this last time around. And I really had to take a look, like you said, hindsight, right? I really had to take a look at my actions during my last run. And I realized like everything in that book that I was trying to say, like, no, that's not me though. So because my disease thinking wanted to find an outlet, right? To say, no, 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 you got another go at this because you're not like the rest of them. Once I stopped comparing, right, and really started identifying, like, dog, I'm no different, right? Our stories may differ slightly in the fact that I'm me and you're you, but at the same time, right? Addiction brought us all to the same place. And what I want to talk about right now is when I first came into recovery, right? Like the first few times, and then I relapsed. I wanted everything instantly, right? Because I'm used to that instant gratification, right? Like, what is your advice on someone who comes in, right, and the family dynamic isn't repaired right away? or they don't get that job that they wanted, right? Because they just came home from detox, or their child still won't return their phone calls. What like advice do you have for someone just coming in, right, who wants the all of these things to come?
Everything takes time, and time stands for things I must earn.
Mm,
I did a lot of damage, a lot of destruction, right? And being the good addict that I am, I want what I want when I want it, and I wanted it yesterday.
right.
And so, that's not reality. That's living in a fantasy land. And like I said, like it says, you work hard, you enjoy the fruits of your labor. All my life, everything was given to me, handed to me, and I didn't know how to appreciate things, but today I do know how to appreciate things. Um,
Mm,
sorry if I got off the topic,
mm,
but
mm.
you know, um,
You definitely, no, you definitely touch base, and again, like this is about having that organic conversation, right? So like sometimes even if we do get off topic, we're still right. Someone's gonna catch that message, right? Because you know what they tell us, right? Don't leave before the miracle happens, right? And the fact that we can even sit down and have this conversation, you know, that's a miracle in itself, right? Because the odds said that we weren't even supposed to be here, right?
that is so
So,
true.
you know, what would you say? So fun in recovery, because me personally, I know that when I was first introduced to a 12-step program, there was always something to do in Worcester. Um, there was a lot of fun things going on, man. I think you were working. This was back when you were working at the halfway house. You know, I won't say the name out of for anonymity, but you were working at a halfway house, and there was a lot of things going on, bro. Like there was parties every weekend, fashion shows. Sometimes meetings felt like parties. Like it was really, really crazy out here. But some can argue that it's hard to have fun in recovery. What do you say to that?
Well, I have to remember, right, that like I said, there was a certain time in my life where I had a lot of fun with drugs, right?
Mm,
Um, but for me, it's the lie that my disease feeds me. Because I remember there were times when I wanted to stop and I wanted to do the right things. But see, I didn't know I had a problem. And my disease would say things to me like, yeah, but what would you do? Life would suck, And it was all lies that the disease fed me. Some of the best times that I've had have been clean and sober
mm.
because you know, uh, I'm not getting into fights with anyone, and I'm not getting arrested at a party. And,
Word.
I wake up in the morning without a hangover or wondering, where did my money go or what happened last night. I remember exactly what happened. And, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Just
yeah,
yeah, we can have fun here, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Ramon actually personally have had, some fun times together, going out to do certain things. When it came to, maybe a meeting or maybe bowling or like there's definitely things to do, to have fun in recovery. Um,
The disease feeds us many lies, right? Like, and like there were times when my disease would say, yeah, like drink this booze and like you're gonna have a great time with this girl, right? And like you're gonna really enjoy this and you're gonna do some damage. That was the lies that the drugs and the alcohol fed me, right? You know what? Like today, right? Like when I am intimate with a female, right? The opposite sex, man, it's the best high, man. It's real. It's not fake. It's natural, man. It's
yeah, well. There you have it. You can't have fun, so you can't have fun in recovery. Only thing I'll say is watch who you're having fun with and make sure you wrap it up, guys. That's all. But no, no. So again, so the 90 and 90 thing. All right. So when I came in, I did two meetings a day except on Sundays. So how important was that to your early success in recovery, the 90 and 90?
It's very important, because when I came in, like very, fearful, not knowing what to expect. When you come in here with a teachable spirit and you're open, and you start identifying and not comparing, and you're receptive, uh, and you listen to what's going on of people who have been here before you, you start identifying and realizing some things. So, like the more you come around, the more you hear and you listen, learn to listen, listen to learn. It's like, 30, 60, 90 for me made a lot of sense, because I had to get people to start to know who Ramon is. What, when they say join a home group, it's because people get to know you on a one-on-one basis, and they know when you're not on the beam or when something is wrong. And I mean, let's face it, right? The disease of addiction is a very lonely disease, and it wants us to be alone. And I can't do this on my own. I need people, but I need like-minded people.
Hmm.
People that are striving for the same thing I am, which is just to stay another day clean.
Yeah, good stuff, Ramon. Good stuff. Well stated. Um, so what I've been having a problem with is keeping uh reaching out to people. And I know that, a lot of people that's like the first thing in their toolbox. That I'm waving to my daughter off screen, guys. Hey baby, how was school?
It's a beautiful thing.
Yep, these are one of the gifts of recovery is that I get to share in these awesome conversations with my child. Um and when I'm here, right? Like I'm not absent minded, right? Because like today, um I can understand and the words that come out of my mouth are coherent, right? And they're my thoughts, right? Because and wow, I'm glad that I just brought that up. So I've been hearing in meetings, right, that like I was hijacked by my disease. Can you elaborate on that for the newcomer who may not know that? Because I know me personally, before I came around this time and really listened, like I said, to people like Ramon, to people that have years, have experience, hard fought experience in recovery, I had no idea that my mind was being hijacked once I picked up the drug, right? Like I make the conscious effort to pick it up, but once that drug is in my body because of this allergy that I have, right? My mind is now hijacked. So can you elaborate on the disease of addiction hijacking the mind?
Well, it all starts with a thought, and what I've learned about my disease is that when I start having these thoughts or these bright ideas, right? Like I need to tell on my disease. There's a lot of triggers out there. Like I can be spiritually grounded coming out of my house, right? Walk down the street and run into a big bag of cocaine or something, right? Because I believe in good and I believe in bad, right?
Mhm.
And you know, um, it just takes a weak moment. So when they say, join a group, get phone numbers, stay spiritually connected, because you never know, what you're gonna run into. So one thing that I learned in recovery is staying vigilant. I need to stay connected with, like I said before, like-minded people, because my disease is with, you know what? I learned that I am my disease,
Okay.
you know?
Mhm.
So I need to protect myself at all times.
Right.
And
Okay. And now, and as far as the hijacking goes, like, what does your disease like? So this is you now, right? An upstanding citizen, productive member of society, right? Once you unleash your addiction, what happens to Ramon?
I lose myself. Nothing matters but the next one. It sets off that obsession, that compulsion, everything that has meaning and value in my life goes out the window. You know, um, today, like I take care of my 92-year-old dad. Today, I just called my daughter who turned 24 years old today, right?
Congratulations.
You know, for me to pick up another mood mind altering substance would be very selfish of me, because see, my disease tells me a lot of lies. It'll tell me things like, "Oh, you can do one. You're not hurting anyone."
Mm-hmm.
And it's all lies because the people that we hurt the most are the ones that love us, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I've always said, right, that the same thing is that the funny thing is my disease will tell me, right? Well, I'm not hurting nobody. I'm the one doing the drug, right? But now, like I said, after listening to people like you and some others, um, that hopefully will be on the show sometime soon, is that I am hurting people around me. And the funny thing is I I never have enough until the people around me have had enough, right? Until I've knocked on the last door that I can knock on, right? Or somebody has cooked me the last meal that they're ever gonna cook me, or I've lied to my mom the last time to get 25 bucks cash app to me, right? So like I totally agree with you there, this disease of addiction, bro. It's a doozy, bro, and it really wants me dead. It really wants me dead. Um, and speaking of how it wants me dead, right? The disease I've been taught is very insidious, so it will look for any angle that it can, right? For it to be able to show its ugly head. So, what do you say about relationships in early recovery?
uh, one thing that I've learned is, you know, I don't go around, you know, um, pointing the finger and putting the blame on anyone anymore.
Yep, yep.
So if I get into a relationship, right, I have to know what I'm getting into, and I have to take responsibility and accountability for the parts that I play in this relationship.
Hey, talk about it.
I have to know what I'm getting into, and at the same time, know that I signed up for it.
Hmm.
So, I do know that I cannot be with someone. I mean, I can get into a relationship with somebody that's clean and sober, but if the person uses, right, I have to get away as soon as possible. See, because I always have to remember that I am an addict.
Hmm.
And if I stay with someone who is active, my disease talks to me. And this disease is insidious, it's cunning, it's baffling, and it's powerful. And like you just mentioned earlier, my disease will use anything and anyone that it can to get me back. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to die. See, my disease doesn't want me dead, it
Hmm.
wants me to suffer. It
Ooh.
wants me to make other people suffer. It wants me to live a life of misery, of complete hell. They talk about the animalistic level. I went from a human being to an animal. Okay.
Mhm.
I don't want to be an animal. I want to be a human being.
Right.
And one thing that I've learned, right, because I've always been big on respect, even when I was a little kid, right? But it's all about respect for self, respect for others, and love of oneself.
Mm.
If
Mm.
I don't love myself, I can't love anyone else.
Hey, okay, Ramon's in his bag now. Ramon's in his bag now. We done got into some things, and this is a really, really good conversation. Um, So when it comes to, as you just said, and I'm glad you touched topic on it about respecting oneself and respecting others. Um, so my problem a lot, and what sent me out is one is my feelings, right? Because I would get into these relationships, and I'm still uh, uh, fall victim to the relationship aspect of my disease, right? Except that I'm not using today. But okay, so I was born addicted, right? So I was a methadone baby. I was born in '86, and my mother died shortly after from complications of a heroin overdose. And before I became a full-fledged addict, right? I've always had addict tendencies my whole life, but when I became a full-fledged addict, right? Only then did I understand what my mom had gone through. So up until 27, I had no respect for women, right? Because I'm like, yo, if the woman who pushed me out wasn't good enough, right? To leave me, to stop using, right? And give me a life that I thought I deserved, right? Um, then what worth does any other woman have to me, right? So again, only now through working the steps and working with closely with people like you again and a sponsor, am I starting to peel back, the layers of the onions to get to the trauma that was caused, right? And I started to understand that like my respect issue stemmed from not addressing how I felt about my mom and what happened with her. So how does trauma um or what role did trauma play for you growing up? Because I know you take care of your dad now, but again, what kind of trauma did you face growing up, and how did that show itself in the disease of addiction for you?
Well, I'm the youngest of four, right? And growing up, I grew up with a mother who suffered in silence, who didn't have an outlet, right? Who tried, like I said, tried to commit suicide 6 times, right? But I've also, come to realize that my mother did the best she could, and I put that poor woman through hell.
Mm,
And I lost my mother a couple of years ago, and I am my mother. I am my father. And today, right? I I take care of my 92-year-old father, who at one time couldn't stand to see the sight of me.
mm,
I have that man living with me today. It's been over a year now, and I'm grateful that I can be there for whatever time that he has left. Um, you know, like I have to remember that my parents had parents, and only God knows what she went through. So, you know, um,
mm.
I love my mother, I love my father, and I just wish I could have been a better son, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can definitely identify because like I wish I could go back in time to the woman who raised me. I called her my mom, even though my biological mom had passed away, but I put her through hell. Obviously, she did some things that I still may think weren't right. But again, like you said, right? Like my mom suffered in silence as well, taking care of two boys in a household with no male structure, right? And we put that woman through hell. So like, I don't know all of the trauma that she had to deal with, and I don't know, how she grew up with her parents. I've heard the stories, and the stories weren't pretty. So yeah, I could definitely identify Ramon.
All I have to say is, right, if you have a woman in your life, whether it's your daughter, your mother, your girlfriend, treat them like queens, because we come from a woman, you know what I mean? And you know, just treat them right, treat them like queens. And I always say honesty and communication is the best policy. I always say the best thing that God could have gave us as human beings is a mouth to communicate. And love has to do a lot with it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Because again, I'll reiterate. I had a problem with women. I didn't know a healthy relationship because I had never had the model of what a relationship was, right? Because like my mom, she was single. She was taking care of two boys, and the only example that I had of love came from other single mother households, right? So like, you know, um, I think the only mother and father household that I knew was my friend Anthony's, who was Puerto Rican. But other than that, it was just like, in the way society tends to portray the woman, right, from the urban areas, right? So you mix all of that in one pot, and I'm still thinking in my head, like, well, my mom didn't love me enough to stop using drugs, and so I got, and so I got hijacked by the disease of addiction, and then I'm like, oh shit, my mother did love me, but it wasn't my mother, right? This was the disease of addiction making the decisions for her. So yes, I would agree, right? Like if you have a woman in your life, you have a daughter, just remember that like, my favorite saying is this: karma is a bitch that will give it to any dick, right? So like me personally, right, because of the wreckage of the past, I personally try to, make sure that my daughter is shielded from certain things. Um, I do always let my daughter know that, listen, your dad was not perfect, so please don't look for a man that's like your dad, right? Because like now I'm given these gifts, right, to be able to see that I was a monster at some points in my life, right? Not towards my children in the aspect of being disrespectful or being abusive, but like when it came to like not being there, right? Sometimes the biggest boogeyman is the one that's never seen, right? So like I don't want anyone to take the words that we say and not or to minimize them, because this is huge. And when it comes to the aspect of recovery, is that we need to work on self, in my opinion, before we can work on anything else. But the relationships that you may still have that you have not burnt to the floor, you treat those relationships as gold because they have suffered too. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Um, Again, how big is service work in the whole recovery structure to you? How big has service been for you?
Well, learning about my disease, right? Total selfishness, self-centeredness, it was always about me, right? When you come into recovery, you learn about being more selfless,
Mm,
right? Giving of yourself freely of what was freely given to you, right? All I have is a message. All I have is my experience, strength, and hope. I know that when I came in, right, someone saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself, right? Literally grabbed me by the hand, brought me to another man, and asked the other man if he would sponsor me. Now, if that wasn't intervention,
yeah, yeah.
divine intervention, I don't know what is, right? Because I'm Puerto Rican, right? I have an ego, I have pride, right? Left to my own devices, right? To me, that was God working in my life, right? Because left to my own devices, I probably never would have went to another man and asked him if he wanted to go out on a date with me, you know?
Word, word.
Because my dad never sat down with me to talk to me about life,
Mm,
about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees.
yeah,
My
yeah.
dad never did that. My dad worked hard, he provided for his family, but that was it, you know. Um, so sponsorship is very important to have a male in your life that can teach you things that you probably never knew before or didn't, you know. See, I used to think being a man was having the parts, right?
Mm,
Being a man is more than just having the male parts.
mm.
Being a man is providing for your family. It's
That's right.
being there for your family. It's about being the backbone for that family.
Mm, mm.
You know, um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good stuff. Now we cooking, Ramon. Now we cooking. And again, guys that are out there listening, when you can arm yourself around people that I have sitting to my right, your chances for success are exponential. Because only through honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, right? Can we succeed at this thing called recovery, right? And this is a lifetime journey. Um, so a lot of the time, and I speak for self when I say this, is that I get my 90 days and I'm cured. I'm good. I know what I need to know. And what I've come to learn through being open-minded and taking suggestions is that, bro, I'm going to have to arrest this disease every morning I wake up. Every morning I wake up, I'm going to have to throw this addiction thing in a cell, right? And leave it locked up until I go to bed. Well, not even until, and leave it locked up, right? And somehow it may escape in my dreams, but when I wake up, through application of this program, I can arrest it all over, right? So again, this program promises us one thing and one thing only, right? A daily reprieve, as long as we follow the program as it's laid out, right? Can you give us the added benefits of the program?
All I can say is, right, we never graduate from this program, right? This is a lifelong process, right? Somebody said it took me 20 years, to walk into the forest. I'm not going to come out of that forest in 1 year. So, the graduation for me, right, is when I leave this world. When I do leave, I want to leave clean and sober. I don't want to be a statistic. Um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but
You don't want to be a statistic.
yeah,
You leave, go sober.
yeah. So there's no graduation here, guys. One thing I've learned about myself is I'm made with a built-in forgetter.
Mm,
If I forget my past will become my future.
mm,
The greatest thing, my liabilities, right, are my greatest assets. So I can't afford to forget where I come from. And that's why it's very important to have a home group, to stay connected, to be around like minded people that have learned about the disease of addiction and know how to arrest it. All I have is a 24-hour reprieve contingent upon my spiritual condition
mm.
and being around like minded people who are striving for the same thing that I am, which is another day clean. See, recovery doesn't promise you that you're going to get back into the big bed, that you're going to own a mansion, that you're going to be happy, joyous, and free. You're going to be what is it, tiptoeing through the tulips or skipping to my loo,
Right.
you know, but, you can have a life second to none. I know for me, right? I'm not diving out of dumpsters today. I'm not hanging out by a liquor store panhandling. I'm not walking into a department store and taking something that does not belong to me. I pay my way today. I'm not dependent on anyone to take care of me. All my life, I was looking for a mother, or, I, today, it's like, it's about growing up.
Mm.
It's about growing. Either you grow or you go. I don't want to go. I want to grow.
Very good, man. Now and that we've been cooking. I like this conversation. We've been cooking, Ramon. Um, so I want to lastly, right before we go ahead and sign off, the little boy inside of us. I just want to touch base on that for a second because I always my favorite line up until this last run was "I'm a grown ass man," right? That was my favorite line, right? But I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And then, right? Oh, here goes my sponsor right here. But I didn't know what I didn't know, and I found out that I have this little boy inside of me, right? That be dying to get out, and that's why these temper tantrums come. Like, how big was it to find out about the little boy inside, and what steps did you take to try to heal him?
I gotta laugh about this, right? Because when I was a little boy, right,
Hmm.
I wanted to be a man, right? You know, I couldn't wait to, get older and be a grown up, right? Well, let me tell you something, right? I'm a grown up today, right? I'm a grown man, right? With responsibilities. And you know what? Now I wish that I was a little kid again. You know,
Word, word.
you know, because see, little kids don't have to worry. You know, they
Mhm.
get fed. You know, they get clothes. You know, they have roofs. So I wish I could revert back to being a kid. Getting in touch with that little boy, right?
Mhm.
Well, that little boy has to become a man.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I mean, don't get it twisted. I'm 59, but I think like a 21-year-old. I
Right.
still want to, go out to the clubs and have fun, but I have responsibilities also,
Mhm.
but I may be 59, but I don't think like a 59-year-old man. I think like someone a lot younger,
That's right.
someone who wants to enjoy life, I wasted many years, lost, and don't take the little things for granted. You know what I mean? Because I never thought I'd be 59 sitting here doing this right now. So I'm
Man.
very grateful to be here, sharing this moment with you. And I hope and pray to God that we said something that might help someone in their process and in their journey, because that's what it's all about. It's about sharing each other's experience, strength, and hope, so that hopefully you can identify and not compare,
Mhm.
identify and find yourself in this process to have a better life. And also, just the same way as the disease of addiction is a family disease, so is recovery. Recovery is also a uh, family structure. So stay around, reap the benefits.
Well, thank you so much, Ramon, for coming through, bro. And like you said, yes, I hope that somebody out there got something from this conversation. We hope to have Ramon back up here very soon. Also, if you guys want to see the video version of this podcast, you guys head over to YouTube and search up Radioactive Recovery. I like to thank you all. And again, take it one day at a time. And if you're interested in how you can get up to share your experience, strength, and hope, feel free to send us an email at 25andream@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you for tuning in to Radioactive Recovery, where we drop the bomb on recovery and hope you catch the fallout.